Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Putri Adelia. I'm from class V923, English Literature. I will discuss literature. I discuss these aims to provide to understand of literature. Literature can be interpreted as a source or reference used in various activities in the world of education or other activities. Literature can also be interpreted as a reference used to obtain certain information. Literature can be in the form of books or various kinds of other writings. Types of literature. Basically, literature can be distinguished based on several categories, namely according to the location where the collection is placed, according to the depth of analysis, and according to its nature. Types of literature according to the location where the collection is placed. Number 1. General collection. General collection literature is literature that consists of various kinds of books that are made for adult readers. This type of literature is usually placed on an open shelf and is free to be used by anyone as a source of reading material. Some examples of the literature are popular books that discuss plant cultivation, comic series, novels, etc. Number 2. Reference collection. Reference collection literature is literature that contains a collection of information specifically that can be used to answer various questions that users have. This type of literature is usually in the form of dictionaries, manuals, and encyclopedia. And then literature serves to, number 1, helping users in finding the necessary information. Number 2, reinforce information obtained from analysis or hypothesis. Number 3, additional information to complement an information. Of literature. Furthermore, the literature is what characteristic we have, which we'll discuss according to the type. The following are 3 types of literature based on the level of analysis. 1. Primary literature. Primary literature is literature from research results where the content has not been published before. Usually contains new ideas or theories in various disciplines. For example, thesis, dissertations, papers, journal, research report, and so on. Primary literature has the following characteristic. Source from first hand, which is original without any change or modification, is evidence or registration and application of a new invention or idea in the form of scientific papers intended to obtain a doctorate degree at a university. Papers are collection of working papers submitted for seminar meetings, conference, and so on. Number 2. Secondary literature. Secondary literature is literature based on reference or quoting from primary literature. This type of literature generally contains pre-existing theories or ideas and does not lead to new findings. For example, indications, abstract, newspaper magazines, and so on. Secondary literature. Secondary literature is literature based on reference or quoting from primary literature. This type of literature generally contains pre-existing theories or ideas and does not lead to new findings. For example, indications, abstract, newspaper magazines, and so on. Secondary literature has the following characteristic. Not sourced first hand, is a modification of the primary literature. contains information related to primary data present in a form that is easier to us. Published in a more informative manner because it is supported by other documents. Secondary literature is a literature that contains information in the form of instruction for obtaining secondary literature. Based on the placement of the collection, number 1, general collection. This type of literature consists of all kinds of books intended for adults. The placement of this type of literature is usually on an open shelf so that it is free to use by anyone as a reading source. Written works that are included in general collection include books on plant cultivation, novels, comics, and so on. Number 2, reference collection. This type of literature consists of a collection of information that can be used to answer all kinds of user questions. For example, dictionaries, encyclopedia, manuals, and so on. It can also be a collection of information that leads to other sources of information, for example, catalog, bibliographies, and so on. On the nature, 1. Textual documents, literature that contains information in the form of text that readers can use. 2. Non-textual documents, literature which contains combined information from written and unwritten documents. 3. Mixed document. Mixed document literature is literature whose content is a combination of textual literature and non-textual literature. This type of literature is usually created after the publication of both textual and non-textual document literature. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.